From heartwarming adoption to shocking family drama, this emotional roller coaster will leave you speechless. Discover how one family navigated love, betrayal, and redemption while fighting to protect their children. Don't miss this gripping real-life story. Hit subscribe and tap the notification bell to stay updated on more jaw-dropping tales from our community. You won't want to miss what happens next. After years of trying to expand our family, my husband Brian, 40, and I, 39, recently adopted a 10-year-old girl named Street. She is truly wonderful, full of curiosity, kindness, and a quiet strength that inspires me. The entire process was challenging and emotional, but from the moment we met her, we knew she was the missing piece. We were thrilled to give her a loving home and were grateful to have her in our lives. To formally welcome her, we held a small party for her. Close family and friends, we were overjoyed. Since this was such a big day for our family, we wanted to make the day even more special for Steve. So we went all out with decorations, balloons, banners, and even ordering a cake with her name on it. We wanted to make sure Steve felt valued, accepted, and loved. So we invited everyone in the family, including my sister-in-law Betty, 35, her daughter Violet, 7, and her husband Zayn, 35, who is also my cousin. Betty is famous for spoiling Violet so much that she is known as the family princess. We've all learned to show Violet extra love to keep her happy. When I told Betty about our adoption and the style welcoming celebration, she was quite irritated, and instead of praising us, she said something like, "So Violet won't be the only family princess now," before abruptly changing the subject. She enjoys boasting about Violet's accomplishments, no matter how modest, and frequently suggests that Violet be the center of our gatherings. I thought it was just jealousy. But over the next 2 weeks, Betty started saying things that made me nervous, like it'll be difficult for Violet to share the spotlight, or not every kid knows how to be around a real princess. It seemed like she was saying that Steve wasn't quite up to par with Violet, so I decided to let it go, figuring Betty just needed time to get used to the fact that she was no longer the only grandchild. I'd also thought about throwing a more low-key celebration, but ultimately decided it was more important to make Steve feel special and included. When Betty, Zayn, and Violet arrived, I immediately noticed Betty's awkwardness. She forced herself to smile, avoided eye contact, and stared at the decor with disappointment, while Zayn was thrilled to meet his niece. Despite Betty's strange behavior, I tried to keep a positive attitude and concentrate on making sure that everyone enjoyed Stay Bright. The big day arrived, and everything was just perfect. The decorations were gorgeous, and our home was filled with family and friends eager to meet Stay Bright, and I was overjoyed to see her so happy and relaxed around everyone. It felt like a fresh start for us all. Activities became more obvious as the celebration went on. For instance, if someone praised Stai's manners, Betty would reply by reminding everyone how lovely Violet had always been. If someone praised Stai's attire, Betty would proudly declare that Violet had been dressing like a newborn since she was a newborn. It was relentless. She would not let Steve have her moment in the spotlight. The worst part was when I saw Betty in a corner with a few other people, and I could hear bits of their conversation. It was clear that she was referring to us when she said things like, "Some people just do not know how to raise a true princess, and it takes a special kind of parent to really nurture a child." It was painful to think that Betty would go to such lengths to undermine our efforts to make Steve feel loved and included. Just as I was about to confront her, Zayn, who had been largely quiet all night, suddenly stood up and asked for everyone's attention. I was surprised because I thought he would make a toast or say something positive about Steve, but instead, he dropped a bombshell that left everyone speechless. He broke the heartbreaking news in a composed yet firm manner, saying that he had found out that Betty had cheated on him years ago with one of his friends. After doing a lot of research, he found that Violet is not his biological daughter. He added that he had only recently come to terms with this and had been dealing with it for a while. But after seeing Betty's behavior at the party, he felt compelled to speak up. He said that he was going to file for divorce and split, but that he would still be there for Violet if she wanted him in her life. The room fell silent. Betty's face turned pale, and the rest of the party fell silent, but I felt reassured when I saw her smile blissfully, oblivious to the familial drama that had just transpired. Despite everything, she had a great day, and it felt like our little family was finally coming together in the way I had always wanted. She stood there motionless, as if she didn't understand what had happened, and then she turned and ran out of the room, her face a mixture of amazement and panic. Zayn swiftly followed, leaving everyone stunned. The family is divided over what transpired that evening. Some think Zayn was right to defend himself and confront Betty, especially in light of her behavior at the party. Others think he should have kept it more private. Some family members have even suggested that I shouldn't have hosted such a big welcome party because of Betty's perception of Violet as the family princess, implying that my actions may have caused Betty to lose her temper during the ensuing family dispute. This whole affair has left me feeling conflicted because, on the one hand, I organized the celebration to honor Sty and show her love for while Brian and I have clarified it that we will not pay for her legal bills or anything else, and we intend to remain in that position. I can't help but wonder if I should have foreseen Betty's reaction and been more considerate of her feelings for Violet. I'm torn because I don't think I should have to tone down the celebration for a steak just to make someone else feel better. Sty deserves all the joy, and we won't apologize for it. Now that we're trying to figure out how to deal with Betty's demands, a part of me wants to explain why we aren't paying and said hard hello everyone. I'm back with another update on what's been going on. Since my last post, things have definitely picked up. Sty is doing great and adjusting well at home, but I've noticed she's been a little quieter lately, which has me worried. Zayn recently reached out to us, and he's been trying to process everything that has happened. Betty's marital problems are not our responsibility, and it is inappropriate for her to blame us. However, another part of me feels that it would be best to ignore her and focus on our family. Letting Betty handle her own mess happened. But he wanted us to know that he cares about Steve and has our back. That meant a lot, especially considering the chaos Betty had caused. Betty then took things a step further by publicly accusing Zayn of being a bad father on social media and saying that he was abandoning Violet during this trying time. This was shocking and only served to fuel the family feud. Many people stood up for Zayn, which was encouraging, but it also showed how far Betty had fallen. Brian and I decided to intervene. We spoke with Zayn and decided that he should take action too in the midst of all this turmoil. It breaks my heart to see Steve Retreat start to feel that it is her fault, that if she had not entered our lives, Betty and Zayn would not be going through these difficulties. It is difficult to watch her struggle with such strong emotions, and Brian and I are doing our best to reassure her that none of this is her fault, and that our feelings for her remain unchanged as we work through this challenging situation. I sincerely hope Betty understands the situation. Consequences of her actions, for now, our top priority is to ensure that Steve feels safe and loved in our home. Post 3. It's been about 4 months since my last post, and it seems like Betty is still dealing with her drama as things are getting worse every day. You may recall how she accused Zayn of being a bad dad, and she claimed that he was abandoning Violet during this difficult time. That was absurd, especially considering that she was the one who dropped Violet off at Zayn's apartment and then disappeared. Yes, Betty simply left Violet on Zayn's doorway and disappeared. For a few days, after leaving Violet with Zayn, everyone was naturally worried about what she would do next. Zayn was anxious, tense, and frantic as he tried to get in touch with her to find out where she had gone. He was worried about her mental health and what it meant for Violet, who was still getting used to everything that had happened. Betty unexpectedly reappeared, sort of, sending an SMS that shocked us all. Zayn was incensed when he read the message because he couldn't comprehend how she could abandon their child and then ask for money for a trip. It just showed how reckless and inconsiderate she was towards her family. When Zayn brought up her message, it was obvious she was in denial and tried to act the victim by saying things like, "We don't have enough money." She then claimed she had run out of money and asked Zayn for money to help pay for her trip, saying that she was having a good time but needed some financial assistance. Recognize how tough this is for her. It was foolish of her to make her choices, and now she's twisting the facts to make herself seem like the martyr. Zayn didn't hold back. He told her that she was being careless and self-centered, and he advised her to put Violet's needs ahead of her own. He also mentioned that he was consulting a lawyer about custody and child support, which was a big step for him because he realized he needed to take a stand. The more they discussed it, the more it became evident that he needed to set boundaries to ensure Violet had a stable environment moving forward. He clarified it that he would no longer allow Betty's unpredictable behavior to affect Violet's life. Though he wanted to give Betty a chance at being a good parent, her actions demonstrated that she was uninterested and more focused on her needs and image than Violet's. On the other hand, Zayn loved Violet and would do anything for her, but he felt pressured by his family to take Betty's opinions into consideration. He realized that he couldn't jeopardize Violet's safety just to maintain harmony with Betty or anyone else. During a family meeting, Zayn was able to open up about his feelings. He talked about how hard it was to accept everything and how he was trying to be the father Violet needed. The conversation gave the family some clarity and made them realize how serious the situation was. With everything going on, it felt like we were all waiting for the next big shock, and we couldn't help but wonder how far Betty would go to keep the upper hand in the situation. In the end, Zayn decided to move forward with the custody process because he believed it was the best way to give Violet a stable home. Away from it was a tough choice for him, but he knew it had to be made as we tried to sort out this complex family drama. It became clear that Betty was solely to blame for her actions. She was the one who created the issue and made the choices that brought us to this point. Although we all hoped she would eventually acknowledge her mistakes and seek help, we couldn't let her control how our family proceeded because things had become much quieter since the family drama began. At first, she seemed excited about her new life, but the tension with Betty and the chaos surrounding Zayn had a negative impact on her, and she believes she may be to blame for the issues between Zayn and Betty. It breaks my heart to see her in this state. We'd have tried to reassure her that nothing is her fault and that our feelings for her have not changed. We want her to feel safe and at ease despite the chaos around her. Hopefully, Betty will realize her mistake and stop exposing the entire family to her drama. Hello everyone, I haven't posted in a while. I'm back with another update, and things have taken a drastic turn. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm glad to report that after everything he's been through with Betty, Zayn has officially earned custody of Violet. This feels like a giant victory for him, and more importantly, Violet. I won't go into the legal jargon because, to be honest, I don't understand anything, but the main point is that Zayn has custody of Violet. Let's take a look at what's happening with Betty. Since the ruling, she has been losing control, and instead of standing back and considering her choices, she has adopted a victim mindset. It's actually pretty strange to see her yelling on social media about how unfair the court was and how Zayn she has even tried to rally family members behind her cause, thinking that if she can get enough support, everything is possible. However, it did not work whatsoever. Most of us have just chosen to ignore her, saying that we are over her drama and do not want to be dragged back into it. It feels wonderful to have made that decision as a family. One particularly embarrassing moment occurred when Betty showed up uninvited to a family gathering and demanded to talk to Zayn about the tension Rose was having when she started to complain about how unfairly she was being treated. Instead of getting sucked into her craziness, Zayn politely asked her to leave. This was a turning point for him, and the rest of us stood by him, supporting him. Betty's behavior has been largely consistent since then. She lashes out, looks for sympathy, and then withdraws into her mess. Every time she does this, she further distances herself from her family. We can all see the pattern. She thrives on attention and drama, but we are no longer giving her either. After everything that has happened, Betty's attempts to get Zayn to change have completely failed. She has been blogging and sending urgent texts about how cruelly she has been treated, but it is obvious that her family has chosen to ignore her. It is almost comical to watch her collapse while we work to create a safe environment for Violet. He understands that engaging in theatrics will throw everything he is trying to construct for their daughter off balance. Instead, he has worked tirelessly to establish a caring and supportive environment for Violet, which is exactly what she needs. Given everything that has happened, Violet is doing pretty well. Zayn is making sure that her needs are met and that she feels safe at home. The contrast between Betty's chaotic life and the stability Zayn offers is striking. It's great to see Violet flourish in her new environment. Betty's downward spiral has caused her to further isolate herself, losing contact with friends and family who are fed up with her drama. It is tough to watch someone you once cared about struggle in this way, but we all know she must take responsibility for her actions. Will not allow her mayhem to disrupt our lives any longer. So that's the current situation. Zayn now has custody of Violet, and as Betty continues to lose it, we are all focused on giving her a loving and stable environment. Now that she has custody of Violet, she is feeling better. After her custody battle with Betty, Sadie was initially unhappy and worried that she was causing problems for the family. But now that things have calmed down, she feels more secure. We have worked hard to create a loving and joyful environment for her, and she is showing an increased interest in family activities and talking up about herself. Sty has also stepped up as Violet's big sister, helping her feel more connected to the family. Their friendship is deepening, and it's wonderful to see them support each other every day. St is learning that it's okay to be happy even when things are difficult, and it's clear that she is starting to accept her new existence. Update 5. Hello everyone. It's been 6 months since the last update, and I'm here with another one, hopefully the last one. Let's get right into it. We were all initially hesitant because of what had happened, but after talking it over as a family, we decided to give her a chance because we felt it was important to hear her perspective. Zayn agreed to meet her but made it clear he would not be drawn back into her chaos. Betty was very upset over the custody judgment and was venting on social media in the hopes that anyone who would listen would sympathize with her. She was clearly struggling with losing custody in her impending divorce from Zayn. As soon as we sat down, she started talking about how she couldn't bear the idea of losing her daughter. She went on to say that she was going to change, that she was determined to be a better mother, and that she understood how her actions had affected Violet. During the conversation, Betty broke down and started crying. She talked about how everything had pushed her to the limit and that she kept saying that she didn't want to lose either Violet or Zayn. Zayn was honest with her, telling her that he could no longer trust her, emphasizing that Violet's welfare was his top priority. She attempted to convince him that they could work things out, but it was clear that he had already decided that the only way to protect himself and Violet was to proceed with the divorce. That's when it hit her that she had lost custody of her daughter and her last chance to keep her marriage intact. Betty's voice became noticeably quieter after our meeting. It seems that the reality of her situation was now settling in, and although it was a difficult realization to accept, I hoped it would motivate her to make significant changes. Could defend Violet, but there was still mistrust between us. Over the coming weeks, we noticed some changes in Betty. She started asking more questions about Violet and expressing a desire to become more involved with Zayn. Worry decided to give her some space to show that she was serious. He wasn't ready to accept her back into their lives right away, but he understood that Violet deserved to have her mother around if Betty was genuinely committed to making a significant difference. Apprehensive. But we also had hope that Betty was actually trying to change her life. Violet, on the other hand, seemed a little confused and kept asking how her mother was doing. Zayn wisely responded, making sure to validate Violet's feelings without raising false expectations. At one point, he sat down with Violet and had an open discussion about her mother, saying that although Betty was working on improvements, it might take some time for them to become a parent. Violet missed her mother despite everything that had happened, and it broke my heart to watch her struggle with this. While she impressed me, I couldn't help but feel suspicious of Zayn because he was primarily concerned with getting Violet a stable home, spending meaningful time with her, making sure she felt safe and loved, and starting a new routine that included family dinners, game evenings, and weekend outings. As the weeks went by, we noticed some positive changes in Betty. She started going to therapy and tried to get her life back on track. She even contacted several family members in an effort to heal the relationship she had severed herself from. It was wonderful to watch Violet start to unwind and enjoy life once more. Her current situation was very different from the chaos of the past, and it gave us all hope. However, Betty's journey was not without challenges. There were times when she reverted to her old behaviors. She once texted Zayn frequently to express her displeasure with their visitation plans, which seemed like a step backward. Zayn had to reassure her that he was trying his best to balance Violet's needs and his. And when that happened, we could see Zayn's stress level rise once more. Despite the ups and downs, Zayn remained steadfast in his devotion, and Violet's well-being remains his top priority. I admire his determination and how he has reclaimed control of their life after so much turmoil. It has not been easy for him, but he has shown great strength. Violet appears to be adjusting fairly well, though she still worries about her mother. He took a step back, reminding himself not to get caught up in her drama and instead focus on what was best for their child. Betty's adventure, on the other hand, is a little more exciting some days. She shows genuine potential, such as when she contacts Violet to inquire about her welfare. It appears that she is trying to shift her focus away from her problems and toward her child, which is a positive indicator. However, we all know that she has a long way to go before she could be a reliable presence in Violet's life.